Hey guys, we made it to season 5 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we aim to empower and embrace creativity through diversity as we dive into the fascinating stories and experiences of a diverse range of individuals, highlighting their unique perspectives and creative endeavors. From artists and entrepreneurs to innovators and activists, we celebrate the power of diversity in driving creativity and fostering positive change. Join us as we engage in thought-provoking conversations like
I made myself intentionally homeless in pursuit of my purpose.
We're aware that a lot of people want to present and they were in my position, and what's worse, they weren't a white male, which is a joke that's even still a thing.
I think my family never ever say you can't do something, so full of support for whatever dream. If I said tomorrow I want to fly to the moon, they'll probably say I wish you all the best, Mel.
So guys, I just want to say thank you for supporting the Us People podcast for the past 5 years, and we look forward to sharing another new theme song with you. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Kedesha Blake-Huggins, and I'm a Jamaican, an educator, an author, a business owner, and wife to the most amazing man on earth, Norval Huggins. You're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
I had to overcome a lot of obstacles just to get here.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am humbled to have Kedesha here with me, who is an educator, author, and business owner. Kedesha, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I am okay. How are you? I always say this. It's a beautiful day to be alive.
I like that. See, that positivity right there is what drives the podcast forward and lets people know, you know what, no matter what you're going through, there's always something to look forward to, and positivity is the one. I love that. Thank you so much, Kedesha. So my first question for you, Kedesha, is could you tell me about yourself, where you grew up, and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Oh wow, that question!
It's
My
long.
gosh, it's always that challenging question. Who am I? I am Kedesha Blake-Huggins. I grew up in Clarendon, Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a part of a very small and close-knitted family who are very supportive people. We are philanthropists at heart. We not only always engage in personal and professional development, but we also invest in our community and in our country and in the world at large. So I would say if I could use one word to summarize who I am, is service. I live in service of others.
I love that. I definitely love that. So, Kedesha, I'm going to get a little bit deeper into who you are. So, can you define who you are as a person, but also who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a person that you may not have liked seeing in the mirror to becoming the person that you wanted to be in your life?
So there has been times in the past and even recently where I've looked into the mirror and I don't see who I am, who I think I am. And my sister-in-law said something very important to me. She said, whenever I'm at a rough patch in my life, she always says, Kedesha, now is a good time to reinvent yourself. So I'm constantly reinventing myself. I'm constantly learning from my mistakes, learning from my challenges. And I would say that Kedesha is a work in progress.
I love that. That makes sense to me. That definitely makes sense to me. So let's talk about your values in your life. So there is clarity, there is connection, there's creativity, there's courage, there's choice and contribution. That we decide to have all these things. Talk to me about your values in your life and living your dream and living your purpose, and also leading. How do you believe that you lead people to victory?
All right. Wow, that's a very beautiful question. As it pertains to my values, again, I value service. A deep part of who I am is a philanthropist. I grew up seeing my grandmother and my mom give service to the community in terms of themselves, in terms of feeding the community. So that's a big part of who I am. So my value system lies in being of service to others. How do I help people? Can you repeat that question, please? How do I help people?
How do you lead people to victory? So how do you believe you use the concepts of clarity, community, connection, courage and choice and contribution to lead people to victory?
Well, I think something that I realize with myself, and I'm constantly growing, so I constantly learn new things about myself, is that I'm able to see the superpower in other people. And it's not something to flatter them to say, oh, you're good at this, or you're beautiful, or I love your dress, or it's not to flatter them, but I do truly see what people are good at, and I try to provide a space for them to act within their worth and act within their talents and values. So I always provide that space. I never aim to be jealous, or I would say, for lack of a better word, toxic towards other people. I try my very best to say this is a safe space for you to become the butterfly that you are.
I love that. I definitely love that. So let's talk about education.
Yes.
Where did your journey begin in deciding I am going to be an educator?
Oh wow, that is a very beautiful story. So I just stopped studying at a university because I was not able to fund the studies. So my husband was living in a different part of Jamaica. I used to visit him. That was before he was my husband. We were dating. And one day when I was walking downtown Kingston in Jamaica, there's a short walk from the bus station to from the bus station that I sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Oh, yes. All right. So I was walking downtown Kingston. There's a very short walk to the bus station. And on that very short walk, it was about a 5 minutes walk. Seven people, no, six people actually stopped me and said, are you a teacher? Just randomly stop and ask if I was a teacher. And then when I went on the bus, the conductor said to me, you're definitely a teacher, aren't you? So it's seven people that asked me in that one short 5 minutes that if I was a teacher. And I said, I've never thought of, well, lies. I had thought of being a teacher when I was younger, but I had members of my family who were teachers and they were like, no, Kedesha, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's too much work and it's an ungrateful profession. So I was actually at UWI studying to be a forensic something in the forensic field, so biomedical.
Yes.
And when I went home the same day and I said to my mom, I said, Mom, seven people asked me if I was a teacher. And bear in mind, that was in September. So that means all of the schools would have already had the cohort of students that they wanted for the academic year. It would have been too late to apply. And my mom said, you know what, you're going to go there tomorrow and go to Michael Teachers College tomorrow and find out if you can apply. I said, Mom, that's impossible. Of course, everyone has already been accepted. Makes no sense for us to waste our time. But we went, and the devil, we in Jamaica will say the devil is so strong because when I went to the gates of the school, I saw this young lady in a very long uniform, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm turning back because the uniform is too long. Not going to do it. And my mom said, you know what? Let's just go and see what happens. Let's not stop here. And the rest is history.
Yes, mommy.
Yeah, my mom was like, she knew I was very stubborn. So she was like, okay, we're not even going to commit to it. Let's just go and see what happens. And I was one of the last students to join that cohort. And at the end of my studies, I was the vice president of the Guild of Students.
See?
And I was able to impact so many lives in that role.
See what I mean? See, when you least expect something to happen in your life, that's when the universe and God, whoever you believe in, will help you. Because if it's meant for you, it will always be for you, regardless what people say. People are always going to have an opinion, Kedesha, trust me. But
Yes,
when
indeed.
something is for you in your life, it sincerely is for you. Let's talk about your book.
Yes.
right? Let's talk about there's several questions I have for your book. So the first one is, what made you decide to write a book first of all?
Oh, wow. Can I tell you how much I love your questions? So, I've always been that child who, well, I grew up in a very empowered household. Even as a dark skinned girl, my mom always said to me, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and not beautiful for a dark skinned girl, just beautiful. You know what I mean? So when I went through high school, I had my confidence took a hit in high school because I relaxed my hair, and it was very what's the word I want to use. It wasn't up to par basically. So what I tried to do all the styles the girls were doing back then,
Oh
and
yeah.
my hair is very light, but with the relaxed ends and it not taking care of it properly, it wasn't it wasn't the best presentation. So my classmates would always comment on my hair and laugh at it and all of that. And then when I went to the UWI in Jamaica, which is a university, there was a year that I was having a very rough time financially, and I was voted worst hairstyle. It was a funny awards, and that was the award that they gave me. But at the time, it was not that I wanted my hair to be poorly kept, but I did not have the money to maintain it at that time. Being a
Yeah.
student, and my family was struggling financially at the time. So fast forward to me being in the UK, I was at a gathering with some colleagues, and they were commenting on the fact that when they had their children, they didn't want their children to have their bad hair, and I was like, no, your hair is not bad hair. Your hair is good hair.
Yeah.
Once it goes out of your head, it's good hair.
Exactly.
So so I had the idea that, what, I need to write something. It could be a poem, something about loving yourself as an individual, learning to appreciate yourself. But I never got the full push to do the book until I failed my driving test twice, and I was crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, everything is going down for me right now. I'm so disappointed. And it was right in the middle of COVID as well, and I just wanted to get off the bus because it was a whole mess on the bus. And when I was on the bus, whenever I'm sad, I always write poetry or write my thoughts in a journal. And I started
Yeah.
writing, and I just kept writing. So I wrote the entire book on a bus ride.
See, that's inspiration right there. But have you
Crazy.
ever noticed, Kadisha, that sometimes you have to go through a struggle in order to find the purpose
Indeed.
and find your books? Because if we live life perfectly all the time, we would never know the hardship of fundamentally finding the story of what we're meant to write in order to help other people understand about hair. Because naturally we all have different types of hair. I get comments all the time about my big hair, and no, it's true. And sometimes people say it's not mine, and they want to fight you and say that your hair is not your hair. and
Yes.
and I know how that feels. That it can be very off-putting. It can put you in a place of sadness as well. And like we said before, people are always going to comment, and I'm proud of you for taking, going on that bus journey. No matter how bad everything else was going on in your life, you still took, if it was your phone, it was your phone. If it was, a pen and a pad, you still decided to write that book.
Yes.
How did people receive it once you pull it out in the world? I would love to ask you that.
Well, you know what? I have a group of friends, family, and even my co-workers that are very supportive.
Yeah.
So when I released the book, I got so much support from everyone. And the most heartwarming thing was to see videos being sent to me of little girls reading the book. There was this one little girl, she read the book until it was in the book, like she had it for years. She kept reading it over and over. And there were other little girls that there's a other one that where the little girl read it to her sister. There's so many instances of seeing young black girls, not only black girls, but also um, girls some other ethnicities that were enjoying the book because they're also learning about black hair. So it was
Yeah.
so lovely to see that the community received it so well.
What would you say to any young girl, regardless of their culture, nationality, or color, that is going through something like of what you went through with your hair, what would you say to them, Kedesha?
I would say to them that you are unique. You are special. And when I say special, I don't mean special in the way that you're better than other people, but you are just, uh, it's like having a beautiful puzzle. And each of us, we contribute our own unique thing to the puzzle. If one piece is missing, the puzzle will not be complete.
Yes,
Yes.
that makes definite sense to me. Talk to me about being a business owner, because one thing I embrace is women who are business owners. No, come on, we have to support each other. Without the support, we cannot
Definitely.
flourish, right? So, talk to me about you being a business owner. What does it mean to you to empower yourself and embrace being a woman who is a business owner?
So for me, being a business owner means freedom. It
Very
means
true.
time to spend, having the time to spend with my family, having the finances to not just to. First of all, I love telling my students, "Oh, remember when you're rich to get me a Range Rover." I love Range Rovers, but that's not the value that I have. The value I have is to it gives me the time freedom. It gives me the finances so I can spend more time with the people that I love and to
Yes.
donate to the causes that I wish to donate to. I know my family is going to be very surprised because it's very a bit the business has been a bit of a hush thing for now because I've recently started. I'm still teaching, but I'm hoping to scale the business. It is a staffing agency for teachers.
I like that's a good idea. We need more teachers in the world, and especially ones who have open minds.
Definitely, indeed.
Especially that, no, push it. You have my
Yes,
support. Push it, and trust me. When you do something good in the world, it will flourish.
definitely.
It will definitely flourish. So here is another question for you. In the world of education, for example, because there are so many things that need changing in education, what do you believe? If I said to you, Kadisha, I'm going to give you a curriculum, you're allowed to write a new curriculum, for example, to help teach and educate children, teenagers, or adults. What would you change in the curriculum in order to help these students learn better and see life in a different way through education?
All right, it's fun that you said that because I'm actually a curriculum leader for PSHE,
Mhm.
which is basically the life curriculum. And that is something I think that is very important. Even in schools in Jamaica, we have an aspect of it in our curriculum, but it's not fully introduced, I would say. What I do endorse is developing skills that young people need in the real world. So,
Yes.
yes, it's good to know calculus and pre calculus and doing those science experiments and knowing physics and all of that. All of those things are important to develop process skills and resilience. But knowing how to budget, for instance, I always share this story about how my mom used to purchase, we call them, well, obviously everyone calls them soap. We didn't use body wash, we used to use soap. So when I was home, my mom always purchased 3 soaps every month when we went to the supermarket. And whenever I always had a soap to use when I was going to shower. So when I went to university and I bought the three soaps and I was like, yes, it's going to serve me for the month. And I realized that after 2 weeks, I did not have any soap. I was like, how is this possible? We had a household of 5, and we were able to function on 3 soaps for the entire month. And now I'm at uni by myself, and I'm not able to do that. And I did not know at the time that my mom kept replacing them. So as soon as one was finished, my mom would put another one or buy another one. So I that was a rude awakening for me. The first time I was able to grocery shop on my own, my trolley just had snacks, and so after 2 days, I was dying like from hunger. I only had it was a lot of the trolley looked a lot. There was a lot of snacks in the trolley and not enough food to cook.
Yes.
So those were skills, even though my parents tried to instill those in me while I was growing up. Those were necessary skills: budgeting, investing. I am just now trying to learn how to invest in stocks and stuff like that. I am learning about who you are as an individual, that you are uniquely you. You have a purpose. You belong here. And if you are in the wrong place, you can find people who will love and support you. It doesn't mean that you don't have value. There are so many things. And a big part of it as well is sex education. Sex, I think, in a lot of cultures, it's a very tabooed subject.
I
And
agree
I
with you.
think indeed, and it's when you say words like penis and vagina is seen as a dirty word when it's a part of your body. How could it be dirty? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So
Yep, I agree.
when I go into classrooms and I have conversations with my students about sex, and they usually, some of them will tense up. There's this one boy that said, he kept saying, "Oh no, oh no," every time we spoke about it. But I said, listen, this is a safe space. We're going to talk about it because it's information that you need to know. And
Exactly.
then if you have any questions at all, I'll do my very best to answer. If I don't know, I'll research it and get back to you. So having that open space where young people are able to voice their concerns, they're able to talk about the sensitive topics, the things that their parents don't speak to them about. So I know I'm very passionate about this. I kept going on
No,
and
I
on.
know.
But
Keep going. No, keep Kadisha. Keep going. Don't stop. I never said stop.
okay. But it is something I'm truly passionate about. So, finances, sex education, mental health. Mental health, again, I realize in the Black
Mm,
community or in minority communities, it's not emphasized the importance of having good mental health. You're told, you know what, just brave it out or just move on, move
that's true, you
forward. And it's
know.
not that easy. So, what are some of the changes that we can make at the root with the students? So when these young people become members of society, they will be our doctors, our lawyers, our whatever careers are out there. 'Cause we have several careers, our teachers, just the members of society that allows our society to become a very productive one. How are we equipping these young people to be the future that we so often speak about?
That's so true. What about diversity as well? Because diversity plays a huge part in this whole spectrum. So there's education, there's curriculum, there's sex education, but there's also diversity, because the one thing I've noticed in even in the UK, there might be several of one culture, as we all know, and only one or two of other cultures in there. What does diversity mean to you in education?
Diversity means we're all different, but our differences make us stronger.
Yes.
That's what it means to me. So some people will tell you that I don't see color. And I think that is a very, very dangerous statement to make, to say you don't see color,
Mm,
right? It is not about not seeing color. It's about accepting people for who they are. Because even within cultures, we have subcultures. So finding that common ground, even when we disagree on certain things. And I think especially now with the recent riots in the UK, not even just in the UK, in England specifically, it's so
mm,
important for us to embrace our uniqueness and to see how our uniqueness can bring us together as a nation. And where do we start? We start with the children. And that's a big part of the curriculum as well, the PSHE curriculum. We even have a diversity club. In majority of schools, I would say we have diversity clubs where we have students from different ethnicities, cultures, uh, different sexualities, and they're able to have that safe space to find a common ground or to say, you know what, let's agree to disagree. And that's totally fine.
I like that. And that, you know what? I'm so happy that you spoke about even different sexualities as well, because
Yes.
that's another thing. I don't know if we want to touch the topic or talk about it, but I find that in a lot of cultures, especially West Indian cultures, they find it very hard to embrace their kids when they are a different sexuality. And that can be extremely hard. Is there anything that you feel that you can help on this subject, especially when we're talking to West Indian parents, to make the children feel, or whoever it is that's going through that, just to make them understand it a little bit better?
You know, there's something that Michelle Obama said when she said, you raise the child that you have, not the child that you want to have, but the child that you have. And I always go back to the Bible to say that God said that we should love You didn't say just love the person in the Range Rover, or just love the person that goes to church, or the person that goes to the mosque. He said love. We should love our neighbor. And I think it's so convenient. I would want to be controversial, but I think it's so convenient that we choose the parts of the Bible that we want to support. You
That's
know,
true.
the common cause, or the common merit of the Bible is to love. To love. So what I would say with to the parent is that, first of all, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, because everyone has their own idea of what religion is and what is acceptable. But I will say, love the child that you have unconditionally. Love is not conditional. So even if that child does not go on the path that you want, that child still deserves grace, still deserves love, still deserves prayers.
Yes, I agree with you there. If there was one person who inspires you in your life, who has helped you, could you tell me a bit about them and how they have inspired your life and made you feel like you have purpose?
Oh, well, I can't choose just one. There's so
Uh,
many people along my journey.
no, okay. Let's do this, right? So let's start, Kadisha. Let's start with maybe as a child you'll have one, and then
Yes.
and then as a teenager you might have one, and then as your adult, so you get to choose three. So
Okay.
let's do this.
All right. As a child, I would say, as a child and even as a teenager, it was my mom. I've always wanted to be like my mom. She is what you call the X factor personality. She walks into a room and the room lights up. The
I like
party
that.
doesn't start until she gets there. And she's such a compassionate person. She is the go to person for everything in the family and in the community. If they're having any sort of disagreement, you go to my mom. And it's so funny that my mom now is a mediator as a career, because she had been doing that since my childhood in terms of helping everybody. And I just think that she is what you would call a strong black woman, in not the negative sense, just the sense that she's always reinventing herself, always moving forward. It doesn't matter what the difficulty is. She will pick herself up and she's going to move forward.
I like
And
that.
even when I go through things in life, I always say, remember whose child you are. I tell myself it all the time. Remember whose child you are. You can do this.
I like this.
And my mom has continued to be a source of motivation in my life.
Yeah.
But I also can speak about my mother-in-law in terms of financial education. I remember meeting her for the first time, and then listening to her talk about how you pay your bills first, you do this, and some of these things I have my own parents taught me as a child, but just seeing someone that was actually in the financial space doing stocks and all of that, it was a new area for me. And she's just such an
Yes.
inspiring lady. And how can I speak about my mother in law, not mention my darling, my amazing husband?
I like this. When your husband listens to this, he's gonna be like, "Ooh,
No, I always try to find a way to talk about my husband. My husband is a gift from God. That man has taught me patience. He has taught me grace. He has. I remember we were watching the Olympics, and I said to him, I said, "Oh, babe, I can't even." I was watching them throw the javelin,
that's the one. That is the one."
and I was saying, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to do that. All I can throw is a tantrum."
That's a good one.
He was laughing, but I went through a part in my life where I was studying, and I don't know what your heritage is. Is it if you have any source in the Caribbean?
Oh yeah, mine is Jamaican.
Oh, wonderful!
Mine's Jamaican, Saint Lucian, and Indian. So I
Oh,
have three. Yeah,
wonderful!
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
No, you're
I,
welcome.
so my mom and lots of Jamaican parents or even black parents, they believe, hey, just trust God and do it.
Yes, I've heard
And
that
just
many times.
many times. And
Many
I
times.
do trust God, but I do think we need to give God something to work with. So
Yeah, that's true.
I was at uni, and things were not working out well. This is coming from a child who has been privileged their entire life. My family went, I would say, went down financially, and I've never been in that situation before. I've always gotten what I needed and what I wanted. And I was at uni I missed my first exam. I almost had a heart attack. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? I had done well in high school, overperforming in high school. I said, okay, I'm going to go to uni, going to be done in 3 years, going to do my master's. I'm going to meet my husband. I'm going to have 3 children, the whole works. I had it all planned out. And when I had my first major failure, I didn't know what to do. And I kept going. So I know a lot of people don't know I spent almost 2.5 years in first year, because what happened is that I was not able to do my exams, so I had to repeat that semester. And when I did get a chance to do my exam, it was just before the exam started. Someone would say, okay, let's allow you to do it just for this day. And when I did go, I was already so stressed out. I was not able at all to pass my exam. So at one point I had a 1.45 GPA. Can you imagine a child that has been excelling in high school having a 1.45 GPA in pure and applied sciences? Not at all. So I met my husband around that time, and I remember one day I went over to, there's a field in front of the student union, and it was a very dark field, but it's where we have our exams. And I was over there in the dark by myself crying, and I was on the phone with my partner at the time. It wasn't my husband yet, and he said, take a break. And he said, take a break, and by the weekend I was packed up and I was by his house.
That's it.
But I said to him that if he had not said to me, take a break, because the notion of don't give up, keep going. But I always say, it doesn't matter how motivated you are, if you're motivated in the wrong direction, it will still be the wrong direction.
That's very true.
So he told me to take a break, and I went and I helped out with his business for a little while. And yeah, he has always given me good advice. So he's my advisor, my cheerleader. Okay, I'm not going to talk anymore about my husband. I'm going to get emotional.
Oh. Do you know what? Big love and positivity to your husband, because listen, finding someone who is your other half, as they say, or the purpose of your being, is hard to find in the world, and a lot of people will never get that, my dear. And you managed to have that, so that's a blessing in a million ways. So to you and your husband, positivity always.
Thank you. Big up husband.
Big up husband. Kedesha, if I said to you, Kedesha, to choose one quote that represents you as a person, what quote would you choose, and why would you choose that particular quote?
All right. My quote that I would choose is, failure is never fatal. Success is never final. You are judged on your next performance. I have failed so many times in life. I've failed more times than I have succeeded so far.
Aww.
So far. But from every failure, I have learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about what I have to offer. And I'm still learning. And each failure has made me more resilient for the next
True.
time I fail. So I don't expect to fail, but when I do, I have the resources to build myself back to even a better place than I was at before.
See, so if I said to you, Kedesha, if we constantly get judged every day just by purely how we look before we even open our mouth. If I said to you, Kedesha, if there was no such thing as judgment, what do you believe you would have done differently in your life?
Oh, wow. Wow, Savia. That is a question.
You're too funny.
So as a child, there are two things I wanted to mention. I used to love to pretend like I'm a ballerina as a young black girl in the countryside in Jamaica, pretending like I was a ballerina. And one thing, when I went up to my grandparents' home, my uncles and aunts, who were not much older than I was, they used to ask me to dance, and I'll run around and jump around, and I was just free. I also used to have an advice column at the time I was about 10 or 11. I had an advice column about how you should date and how to choose a good partner. Mind you, I've never been in a relationship, but I was such an expert. And I think as a child, the world did not tell me no just yet. I was able to be the fullness of who I was. You didn't have much a lot of black ballerinas at that time,
True.
even from Jamaica, living in the countryside at that. But I had that aspiration, and the world did not tell me no yet. I just thought that there are so many things that I could do. Looking at even my little brothers when they were growing up, they could behave as if they were Superman or Batman, and they would want to jump off a roof or something like that because the world did not tell them no. The world did not tell them, hey, if you jump off that roof, you're going to die.
Don't say that, Kedesha.
No, the world did not tell them that. It's just you felt invincible as a child.
That is true.
And I think maybe I would have been a ballerina, maybe I would have been a singer, because another talent I have is singing. But again, the world told me no. When I went to high school and I went to a choir practice, I did so well with the audition. And then I was so inspired to go and sing in front of the entire school, even though I was a very shy child. But when I went in front of the whole school, the choir director said, if I didn't know better, I would just remove it from the choir right now. It was never a case where, Kedesha, you know what? This is you didn't do so bad, but this is how we improve going forward. I was just so excited to go and sing and to share my talent that I did not, maybe the tone wasn't well, I didn't keep the keys as I should and all of that. And it was not a place of encouragement. And that teacher broke me twice. In the form of a choir, being a part of a choir, she removed me from the choir. She did not give me a room to grow and to explore my superpower. And she also removed me from, she did never consider me to be a prefect as well. So there are so many cases where we have to be careful as educators, because we can snuff out the light in people, and we can
Yeah.
also discourage people from becoming what God has ordained for them. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does answer my question, but I'm thinking because I've heard that before. I've heard when a teacher has done that to a child before. And sometimes, Kedesha, I think sometimes a teacher can also be jealous of a student or
Indeed.
intimidated by a student because
Indeed.
a student has the ability to shine. And sometimes, and it's sad to say this, sometimes some teachers only become teachers for the money or the benefits of being a teacher. But then there are some glowing teachers who light shines, where they will pull out from you, you know, the light that's within you and make it shine brighter. And even if you've made a mistake or you've done something that you feel is wrong, at the same time they will guide you, like you said, and say, you know what, Kedesha, you was meant to hit a G, but you hit a E. Don't worry, we'll go to the D, we'll get to the G. Yeah?
Savia, I love this. I love this, by the way.
Do you understand? And then you eventually get there. And then eventually, you know, they take you to the piano, and then you start going up the scales. And that's how you learn. But that's what life
Indeed.
is like. It's finding people like your husband, yeah? See him like a keyboard for a second, yeah? Where you may have said the only thing you can throw is a tantrum, yeah? But maybe you were on the lower scale back then, yeah? You were on the deeper tone, you were on the bass, yeah? But then he brought you up octaves eventually throughout your
Definitely.
life
I can tell
until
you know your music, I can tell you know your music.
yeah, I got the keyboard behind me and the keyboard is behind you. See that? Look, whoop.
Oh yes, yes. Oh, okay.
So you kind of take life and you go up those octaves, but you bring the good people with you who help you go up those octaves in life,
Definitely.
and then you flourish. And then
Indeed.
that's all I'm trying to say is that, you know, sometimes there are always going to be people in your life who are jealous because they haven't got to their place in life, or they haven't found their potential in life, so they try to drag people down who have found their potential. And that's what I think happened to you in school. That's what I think it is.
And that was just that one teacher, because I had so many exceptional educators,
There you go.
especially my English teacher who was the vice principal. I recently reconnected with her after an interview. I reconnected with her, and that lady, I was a very quiet child. I would say I faded into the background because I was so shy. But that lady saw me. She saw me, and just by her seeing Mrs. Porter, by the way, then be high school, just by that lady seeing me, I'm able to do that for my students. So the student that no one pays attention to, the student that maybe doesn't have the latest gears or the hairstyle, I go and even lunchtime I'll go and sit beside her and say, "How are you? How was your day? Wow, how was your cat?" And I try and remember details about them. And I do that for all my students. But I'm just saying that it's not it's just not an exception. It's just everyone that I do that for. But especially those students that no one else sees.
See, this is what I mean. It's the understanding. Or as they say, I was taught there's understanding and overstanding.
Yes,
So
overstanding.
there you
Indeed.
go. So there's two different potentials for you.
I see
So
the Jamaican
definitely.
side of you coming out, Savia.
Yeah, it's coming out now, Kadesh. You're pulling it out from me. See, by the end of the podcast, I'll be speaking a whole nother language.
Oh my god! Can I tell you how refreshing this is? It's like just a conversation between
It's
two
just
friends. Very
oh
refreshing.
dear. So Kadisha, say for example, I take you away from England, even if it's hot here, right?
Yes.
And I put you on a desert island, and I say, Kadisha, you are allowed to have 3 people to go with you,
God.
but one has to be a president, one has to be an activist, and one can be a musician. What 3 people would you take on this island to have that exceptional conversation with for 24 hours?
So not someone that's a member of my family, just anyone at all.
So it would be a president, an activist, and a musician.
President, definitely my husband.
Mr. President.
I tell you, that man can be calm in the middle of a storm. He's very calm. He will spend some time to think about things. And I'm like, "Oh, why don't you give me a response right now?" And he's just like, "Babe, I'm thinking about it." But when the thought process is at the end, he's going to come up with a very good solution.
I like
So
that.
he's the person that is calm in the middle of any chaos, and he will always have a solution and other solutions as well to back up that solution. So my husband for president, musician. Who do I know that is a musician? Do I have any musicians in my friendship group? Lord. Let me think about the musician a little more. And who was the other person? Activist. Activist. Yes, my nephew, Zach.
Oh,
Yes, that young man. He's in the US. He's 14 years old. He's in the US and he keeps up to date with the UK news and he's always challenging me to become better. So I'll be like, "Oh, I don't care about politics." And he's like, "Well, if you want to grow your children in this country and if you want me to come and study here, you need to be very conscious of who you vote for and what your contribution is to the society and all of that." So he's he
yes.
keeps me on my toes. He reads the manifestos. He challenges me to read the manifestos and all of that. So definitely my nephew Zach as an activist, my husband as president, and as a musician. I'm still thinking about that one.
Don't
I'm
worry.
sure
No,
I'll
it will
find
pop up.
someone as
It'll
soon as
pop
I
up.
end the call. I'm sure I'll find someone like, "Oh my gosh,
I'll
that
get a
person
text
does it."
message. I'll get a
Yes.
text message, a WhatsApp message. Savia, look, it's my cousin.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and choose my brother Mike's. He is not a singer. He doesn't play any instruments, but he's always singing. He's showering in the morning, he's singing. He's going to work, he's singing. He's such a joyful soul. He's always singing praises. So I would say my brother.
I like that.
Yeah.
See those things I like. And you know what I like is the fact that I asked you the question and you didn't tell me anyone famous. You actually represented your family.
Oh yes.
That is cool.
My favorite persons to talk to are, well, I'm not gonna get myself in trouble. As in my household, one of my favorite people to talk to is my husband because he's so insightful. He has an outlook on life that is so different. It's not like anything else I've heard on podcasts or anywhere else. Maybe I should invite him to an interview.
I think so. You know what? After this, because of the way I've never seen, I've seen people get excited over their partners, right?
Yes.
But when you talk about your husband, it's a whole new level. It's like you've gone on Concord and full throttle.
Oh, my.
That's what it's like. So no, I like that. So husband, you are more than welcome to come on the podcast.
I'll let him know.
All right, good. Okay, right. It's done now. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. So, we've spoken about so many different things and beautifully as well. But one of the things that I think we did touch on is success. Success can be defined in so many different ways, and it contributes to us in our lives in so many different ways also. So, can I ask you, how do you define success, and what does success mean to you as an individual?
Wow, it's a very beautiful question. Success. For me, success is having the time and resources to spend with the people that you love. Success is building a future that you won't even be a part of, but building a future that is beautiful for the generations to come. So that is what success is for me.
I
So,
like that.
and if I could give you a picture of success, I could tell you
Okay.
right now what it looks
Come
like.
on. Yes, bring it.
And success is for me, the picture of success. If I could close my eyes right now and visualize what a successful future would look like for myself, it's me going on platforms that are not only just platforms but in communities where I can make a difference. Especially, I'm very passionate about learning about yourself, personal development, very passionate about fertility because that's something I've struggled with and I'm still struggling with. And so going onto platforms where like this one where women and even men can be inspired by my story and they can use my story as a toolkit to get through their own struggles. It would look like me having many little children running around and saying, Mommy, I'm having like a ranch style home with an
Ooh.
arcade, a little pool. Sammy,
I'm
shall I
coming on
go?
my helicopter. What do you mean? I come in.
Having brunches with my, as Michelle Obama will call them, her kitchen table, her close knitted
Hey.
group of friends, having barbecues with the family and friendship groups, just having that. It's not just, well, obviously money will be a part of that because I need the money to get the resources, but the center of that is family, community,
Mm-hmm.
building a strong structure there, and by extension, building a strong structure nationwide, internationally, just having that impact. That will be my ideal future. Yeah, and my darling husband, as always,
I
is going to be
see.
in
Look,
that picture.
husband, you should see her eyes. Her eyes just flutter like a butterfly.
Oh boy. When I got married, I remember a friend was saying to my husband that, you know what, the first time she spoke about you, she said, "Oh, I met this guy and I can't wait for my future children to meet him." And it's
Oh.
true that I'm telling you, he's amazing. He's my gift. Anyways, I'm done talking about my husband. It's not about my husband right now.
No, I love that. Cause listen, at the end of the day, I know that you have been through many things, especially with fertility and
Yes.
children. And so, do you actually want to touch on that? Because I think that's a beautiful, regardless of the sadness of it, you still have a beauty within you that shines. Do you want to tell us a
Indeed.
little bit about it, Kedesha?
Yeah, I do. You know, my partner and I have. First of all, let me start at the first instance where, you know, in high school you were told. I don't know if you were told the same thing because they wanted to minimize teenage pregnancy. They always tell us if you have unprotected sex, you will get pregnant.
Yes, always. Yes, all the time.
So when I started like in my teenage years dating, if a boy even just said the word "se," he didn't have to finish the word to say sex. If he said "se," I was like, you know what? It's not gonna work out. You can go about your way. You can just go on your merry way, sir. I'm fine. I totally not into that right now because I do not want to get pregnant. I have plans. So when I through my dating life, you know, I maintained my values and my standards. And then when I met my husband, you know, at some point on our journey, we started trying and I realized it
Yeah.
was not happening. So I was like, but I was told that if you have unprotected sex, it's a sure thing. So the first time I, I had unprotected sex, I was like, I'm definitely going to be pregnant. Like I'm planning out my entire life. So 6 years passed, nothing happened. I came here and I went through fertility treatment and I got pregnant well, not the first round. I got pregnant at some point on my fertility journey, and I was like, okay, this is definitely it now. I have it. Everything is okay. Have the husband, have the career. I'm working on the house, but everything is good.
Right.
And I went to my 6 weeks appointment, and the nurse, the nurse was very quiet when she was doing the ultrasound. And then she said, "I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat." I was like, "I've never heard of that in my life." Being pregnant, going somewhere, and you're hearing that you don't, the embryo doesn't have a heartbeat. I was like, what is this? So I didn't even believe it. But then I was told that I had a miscarriage. So it's not a miscarriage per se. The body's still holding on, but the body has not realized that the baby is not viable.
Yeah.
So I was that's the first time I was like, what is this? So I did the surgery to remove it and everything. And, you know, it was very hard. But again, I go back to my husband. I was in the hospital and waiting to do the surgery. And while I was there, my husband had me laughing. Can you imagine going through a traumatic experience and I'm laughing before my surgery? My husband was just, we were talking about things like from our earlier stages of dating. And it was so funny that I just kept laughing right until I got into surgery. I was laughing, even though it was a very sad day. And at the end, we walked all together hand in hand, and he said, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
No, second time around, so that happened in December 2022, I believe. Yes. So last year, December, no, went through treatment again, got pregnant. I was like, oh my gosh, I was holding my breath for my 6 weeks appointment.
Yeah.
Now, went to my 6 week appointment. They said, guess what? We're looking for four things. They said the heartbeat, fetal pole, the sac, and something else. And they said, you know what? We see everything that we need to see. I was like, yes,
Yes.
finally, I'm in the clear now. But throughout the pregnancy, I was not having any symptoms, and I was told that was normal. So yeah, I was like, yeah, but then sometimes I didn't know if the baby was still there. I was so anxious because of what happened before. So
Yeah.
when I started sharing with some close friends and family, so when I went to my 12 weeks appointment now, they again I didn't know the baby was still there. I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's happening. I feel normal. When I went, I saw the baby. She was moving around. She was sucking her thumb. She was just so
Oh.
active. I was like, oh my god, that's my baby. I was
Oh.
like, that's my baby. And my husband was there too, and he was just looking and he was smiling. But then again, the lady went quiet. I was like, why is she quiet? When I looked, I saw this big space in the baby's head. I was like, something doesn't look right there. And I said, is that normal? And she said, oh, I just need to take a proper scan of this. And then, long story short, I found out that the baby had, is it trisomy? I don't know if that's what they pronounce it, or it's trisomy. The baby had a severe defect, like medical defect, where the brain was not fully developed. And
Okay.
it was hard. I said to my family that I'm never coming back from this. This is it for me, because I felt so heartbroken because I was told again, never heard about a miscarriage. Finally got to 12 weeks. I'm saying the baby's there, everything is good. And everyone says once you get to 12 weeks, you're fine. So it has been a very heartbreaking journey, but I can tell you that my family and my friends and I was about to say my employees, my co-workers, my head teacher, everyone has been so supportive. The community has come together and they've given me so much support.
I
And I
love
really
that.
do appreciate that. And I would not say that I'm over it, but each day I get up and I decide to fight. It's always a beautiful day to be alive.
Yeah. See, and you know what? I hope that one day you have the twins instead. You know.
That's
You
what I'm
know.
aiming for.
You know.
That
You
is
know.
what I'm aiming
Sometimes,
for.
sometimes things like this happen, and then God will bless you with just both at the same time. You know. You deserve to have a family. You know. Both of you do. You know, and I know
Thank
how
you for
much
that.
love, I know how much love is more than, listen, if not, love is the most important. I get passionate when I talk about stuff like this.
Yeah,
Love is the, love is the most important thing that you can give anybody.
indeed.
And to give that to your children, oh my gosh, that will set them off for life. It would,
Definitely.
because they'll have the confidence, the passion, the desires that they have to be able to go and fulfill what they want to do in their life, and knowing that they have their parents behind them, and especially you two parents and the husband, and you that's what I call him now, the husband.
Oh my gosh.
And
I tell you,
yourself.
I'm not giving up on my journey. And I just want to, for whoever it is that this message is for, I'm just letting you know that while material things are necessary, it's not the be all end all. Because I
That's very
remember being
true.
in that situation both Decembers, by the way, which is my favorite time of the year, being in that situation. And it didn't matter that I had money in my account. It didn't matter that I had my car parked up downstairs where I could just go and drive. Didn't matter that I could do things for myself financially. What really mattered was my husband, just me shutting down on my husband, even though he was grieving as well. He took over. He did. We always share. We have a partnership. We share chores and we share things. But my
I love
husband
that.
just fully took over. The only thing that man did not do was to bathe me. Like everything else, he served me. He honored me, he loved me, gave me jokes, even in the middle of me crying, I'm laughing because I had my mom and my brothers, my in-laws, my friends who were there checking on me. Sometimes I was not able to answer the phone. They were sending me scriptures, they were texting me, how are you? I'm not doing well, but I'm happy that they took time out
They
of their day
acknowledge
to
you.
ask how I'm
Yeah.
doing. And all I was able to say to them is, I am here. That's all I could say. I am here. And guess what? I'm still here and I'm still fighting and I'm not giving up. I'm
Good.
not giving up.
Time is a healer.
Indeed.
Time is your best healer. And when you least expect it, that healing will take over your whole body, and then the blessing will come. I always
Definitely.
say that.
And I've been working on a book about self acceptance and self love since 2017. And I have not been able to publish that book yet because every time I think I'm ready, I go through another experience that teaches me a lesson. So I'm not going to wait until I've been through all the experiences in life, but I still think that I need to hold on to that book a bit longer because there are some messages that I need to share that I have not even experienced yet. So I'm holding on to that book just a bit longer.
You know what? When the time is right, it will come out.
It will.
Nothing. My granny always used to say, "Nothing before its time," and I'm
Yes,
sure you've heard
man.
that many times.
Yes, man. Yes, man. Nothing that happened before its time. What for
You
you
see,
can be on for you.
see. I told you we're gonna get Jamaican at the end. I told you.
Oh boy.
See, so I always like to end the podcast on a peaceful, positive note. And I've only got two more questions for you, but my second to last question is: when was the last time, Kedesha, you felt totally at peace with yourself?
Wow. The last time I felt totally at peace with myself. Oh, yes. The last time I felt totally at peace with myself is when I saw my family together in Canada, which is very recent. But my husband's side of the family and my side of the family, which is one family, I saw them all together and I was like, oh, I, it did something for me. It did so much for me because it showed me that it doesn't matter what happens to me. I have these amazing people in my life that will always be there for me and always champion my cause, that will always correct me lovingly. So it made me feel so at peace to say, you know what? It's a bad day, it's a hard day, but it's not a hard life and it's not a bad life because
I
I have
like that.
all these people that I love and the people that genuinely love me as well.
See, and that's why you live your life.
Indeed.
See? So, Kadisha, before I even have the chance to say thank you, I'm not going to say thank you yet because I would love for everyone to be able to find your book, to know more about you if they want to contact you, just anything that you have that you would like to share please tell us where people can find you to connect with you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that opportunity. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kedesha Blake-Huggins. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm starting up my podcast again on YouTube, but it's still a work in progress. So it's again on YouTube, Kedesha Blake-Huggins, Learning to Fly, which is learning to first love yourself.
I like that.
And
I
as it
definitely
pertains to
love
my
that.
book, my book is available. Tali's Good Hair. It's available on all Amazon platforms.
I'm gonna buy a copy, by the way. I'm just letting you
Thank
know.
you.
I am
Thank you
gonna
so
buy a
much.
copy, and when I get it, I'm gonna take a picture. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm gonna send it to you. I might even send it out to you. Say, can you sign it, please?
Oh, that would
And
be
then send it back
lovely.
to me.
That would
And
be
then
lovely.
just put it on my shelf, just right there, and then yes, right, good, right. So,
Wonderful.
Kedesha, you have all my positivity, like literally all of it. I want to thank you so much for taking your time to embrace us, for showing your kindness, your compassion, your vulnerability, your family life, your husband,
Yes, can't forget. Can't
can't
forget that
forget
one.
husband, your aura of who you are and presenting it to us with no filter. Thank you so much for taking your time to come on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are more than welcome. Honestly, you are more than welcome. Thank you so much.
Take care, Savia.
Take care, guys. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Ask People podcast so we can continue to hear more beautiful stories, just like we've heard Kedesha's one. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care. Kedesha making me laugh.
Oh, Savia, I'm going to tell you the truth. Right before the interview, I'm like, I took a nap that extended into a full sleep. I woke up just before and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so lethargic. Oh my gosh. But I'm telling you, this interview has just taken me back to life. I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to go do something now. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock. But
yes, if you try, I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind fly. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind fly. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind fly. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind glide you high. We're just soaring through this journey, leaving fear far behind. Our hearts are filled with courage. You can win if you try.